Thank you so much for staying tuned to this channel. Welcome to International Forum. I am Wilson Marshall. Well, today is all about the coup d'etat. Yes, that happened in Guinea. Military coup d'etat, the implication of the impact in democracy, African democracy, global democracy. Take it from any angle, you'll just be right on point. In the case of Afghanistan, it was an overrun of government by the Taliban. Many people termed it as a coup. But this time around, according to some persons, in some aspect, it was a bloody coup, while to some others, it seems like, soldiers numbering close to 500,000, yeah, close to that, surrendering to a paltry number of 25,000. Yeah, do the maths. What really went wrong? What happened? That's for the Afghan story. You come straight down to Africa. You heard about Morsi, right? Yeah, after that, you heard about Al-Sisi, okay? It's like, one coup after the other, the coup carried out by the people, backed up by the military. That is for Egypt. All right, now that is on one hand. If you come down to so many other countries also in Africa, Mali have his own fair share. Yeah, and right now the man known as Alpha Conde, aged 83, is the one we want to talk about today. This was a man that chose to vie for the #1 position since 1983. He was beaten black and blue, but he never gave up. He kept on trying and trying and trying until 2010. Calculated number of years spent waiting for that position. Eventually, he got it. Remember the rules then in Guinea, you just can't break the constitution. You have to serve for just 2 terms. But this man was able to do something to the constitution. He was able to lift that ceiling. It became 3 terms in office. When they did that, Guineans revolted, they protested, but many of them were muzzled. Many of them were in prison. Many of them also lost their lives. All of a sudden, we heard about gunshots, unconfirmed gunshots in the presidential villa in a particular city. Nobody knew what was happening because, a blackout, so to speak, until the information started coming out that Alpha Conde has been shown the exit door, detained by the military. In some part of Guinea, it was a matter of jubilation, while in some other part, oh my word, of destroyed democracy. What side of the divide do you want to really pitch your tent with? The side jubilating or the side wailing that democracy has suffered yet another blow in African continent? With me here in the studio to talk about this, I have lecturers from UNIBEN. Yes, well-seasoned lecturers. They'll be sharing their opinions on this particular discussion. I'd like to start my introduction by introducing Nabil Obakedo. Welcome to International Forum. I appreciate your coming.
Thank you for having me. Good afternoon, viewers at home.
Right. And of course, we have Stella Omonigo. Yeah, welcome to International Forum. I appreciate your coming.
Thank you so much for having me. Good afternoon, everyone.
And of course, both of them are well-grounded, PhD and all that in this particular topic. So I'll just be relaxing as they'll be there lecturing us today. Both be lecturing us today. Okay, Neville, I believe that we've been following this trend. I believe also you're a student of history. And of course, you are knowledgeable when you talk about history. Did you ever see this coming when you talk about the overthrow by the military of Alpha Conde vis-a-vis the coup d'etat?
Well, a point of departure in assessing the situation in Guinea right now, Republic of Guinea or Guinea-Conakry, is by first of all looking at the historical trajectory of the politics of Guinea. When Guinea became independent in the early 60s, President Ahmed Sekou became like the life president. He tried to muzzle all forms of opposition. And the former Organization of African Unity Secretary General then, Diallo Telly, was pinned to succeed Ahmed Sekou in the political development of the country. But he was exterminated, he was killed. And then he was there till he died in the office. When Louis Lassana Bivogui was now appointed as acting president. He was already prime minister before then, and he was to be made president before I think during the burial ceremony, while they gathered at the stadium, the national stadium in Conakry for the burial, for the funeral service, Lassana Conte, an army colonel then, took over government. He was there and also muzzled opposition for a very long time. During the period of Ahmed Sekou Touré, Alpha Conde, that we are discussing right now, was already interested in politics, and he showed interest. He was termed a pro-democracy activist at that time. And then Lassana Conte was there until he died in the office. When he died in the office, while they were also organizing his funeral service, Dadis Kamara, Musa Dadis Kamara, Major, took over the government. Then, from there, this man was put in government after intervention from West Africa, ECOWAS Summit and the rest of them. Sekoba Konate was now appointed as acting president, who now organized the election that brought Alpha Conde. Now, one expected Alpha Conde as a pro-democracy activist who finally captured political power in court to lay a foundation for a strong democratic takeoff, the one that Sekou Touré prevented, the one that Lassana Conte prevented, and the one that Dadis Kamara also prevented. But right now, he has just joined the League of Leaders in Africa and elsewhere in the world that made peaceful change impossible, and they now found violent change inevitable. Now, if you want to look at the situation in Guinea right now, you have to also look at it beyond the frontiers of Guinea, because what we call state creation, state formation, and state development is what is missing in Guinea. It is missing in our country, Nigeria, and it is missing in Mali, it's missing in Burkina Faso, it's missing in Chad, in Niger. I decided to measure this francophone country just now, because in about 5 months, in Mali there was a coup. Yeah. In Burkina Faso there was a coup. And in Chad there was an attempted coup. As a matter of fact, it was in that coup that Idris lost his life. Yeah. So
and his son took over.
So we see that the leaders in Africa, they say they subscribe to democracy. They don't understand the meaning of democracy. Because if they understand the meaning of democracy, they will not be muzzling opposition. They will not be amending the constitution. They will not want to remain in power forever.
All right.
Let me just give you other example before look at neighboring La Côte d'Ivoire. Everybody, including my humble self, we wanted long before now, because of his wealth of experience, Alassane Ouattara to be president of Ivory Coast. Yeah. Now he became president. At his age, he now bribed members of the parliament to amend the constitution for him to remain as life president. Yeah. The same thing that Alpha Conde did. The other day, Paul Kagame of Rwanda did the same thing. The other day, Yoweri Museveni of Uganda did the same thing. They should know, leaders of Africa should know that there are rules that govern the democratic process.
All right.
If that rule you obeyed and others obeyed and brought you up as a leader, obey it. If it is 2 tenure, you serve the 2 tenure, quit and let somebody else enter there.
Okay, because I will come back to you.
No country, every country can survive without a particular leader who thinks that the country cannot do without him.
I will come back to you. Just give us a perfect foundation for this discussion. Talk about other African countries that had experienced COVID in this recent time, so to speak. He mentioned also some countries that choose to tinker with the constitution to give it the power to be either life president or go for a 3rd or 4th or 5th term in office vis-a-vis life presidency. What are your views on this?
Okay, thank you so much. Let me just take it from where he stopped. Right. When I was going through it, I found out that there had been over 200 coup d'etat from the independence of African countries to date. And we have most of them featuring more in Francophone African countries. So I'm going to discuss this in 2 dimensions. Right. One, it's the influence of the Western world in this coup d'etat? Are you sure that some of these things are just happening? Are you sure that they are not being fueled by some Western countries, you know, who are still, in quotes, dominating these African countries? You know, while he was talking, the question is, why coup d'etats, why are they most common within the Francophone African countries? That is on one side. And then the second thing is, why do we actually have coup d'etats so much in Africa? That we have over 200 within 46 years. And you have some countries having more than the others. Let me give an example. In research, the research we made, we found that Burkina Faso had the most successful coup d'etat so far. Yeah. They had 8. They had 7 successful coup d'etat and 1 failed one. Then we also have Sudan having 15. And then you had about 6 successful ones. Having put all these together, I tried to look at all African countries who are claiming to be democratic. You find one thing very, very significant among them, and that is corruption, poverty, and instability, political instability. That from time to time you get uprising from the people and everything. Why I'm saying it is, we should discuss this topic in perspective, looking at the causes, what actually is causing coup d'etat, and why are they most prominent in Africa. Now, this is what came to my mind. Our African leaders, just like Maybe said, our African leaders just go to the Western world, just copy. Now people are going into democracy. They want to also practice democracy, or they claim to practice democracy, but actually, are we practicing the true democracy? The type of democracy that they are practicing in the Western world, is that what we have in Africa? Question number 1. Question number 2, are you sure that these African leaders are not just taking an aspect of democracy or some aspect of democracy that favor them, that suit them, then they leave the ones that will have suited the people, that will have favored the people? So why they take the ones that will favor them most and favor their, their pocket most, they leave the people to suffer, which most times results into this uprising. Because like I said, the last time I was here in the studio, I said, there is a way you are going to push a man. The man will say, no, I've had more than enough, and then we fight back. And I think that is what is happening actually in African countries, that you see this constant unrest, especially in 2021. It's like people have now decided to say, look, enough is enough. We can't continue like this. We just need a break from these leaders. And that's why you see this, uprising from time to time. Let me give an example. A people, where you have a people who is very comfortable, they are happy, things are moving on the way they should move. There is equality in the society where the people's voices are heard. Tell me why there will be uprising. What we cause agitation. But by the time people talk over one thing, you don't listen to them. There's diversion of public funds. There is this insecurity. There is this inequality. And if you look at these countries where you have this instability, where you have this coup d'etat, those are the major characteristics. Let me tell you, Mali is very poor. Niger is a poor country. In fact, there was a time our own president was thinking of helping them, giving them aids, exporting food to these countries. Yes, to these countries. Yeah. And I laughed. I said, if as we are suffering in Nigeria, they are now thinking of sending aids to them, sending food to them, you can imagine how poor, because Nigeria is a poor country right now. And then they are trying to help others. That means any country who is poorer than Nigeria, of course, is a very poor country. Now, these countries are characterized by serious level of poverty. That's on one side. How will a hungry man, we say it every time, a hungry man is an angry man. That's on one side. Then lastly, the third point I want to say is this constant seizure of power. You want to keep power forever. And then this Alpha Conde, let me call him President Conde right now, because it's no longer an alpha as far as we are concerned, you know, had to amend constitution. And this we see in most African countries. When it is getting to the end of their tenure, you know, they want to amend constitution so that they can stay in totem. The question I ask them is, what is the problem? What are you looking for in government? That, let me tell you, you are a bad leader if you cannot train people to take over from you and take a bow when you are supposed to take a bow. And that is why I will always salute the courage of President Goodluck Jonathan, who are the, you know, even before the final result was results were announced, he called President Buhari to congratulate him, to tell him that, look, when are you coming over so that I can sort out things with you. That is a true African leader. But what we see now, let me tell you, do you know that most Francophone African countries have been governed or have been led by presidents who don't want to give power? When he was just talking about the one of 38 years, this our man Condé of 37 years, Yasingbe Yadema of Togo also stayed for 38 years. And after the 38 year, when he died, the son Fore Yasingbe took over. Fore Yadema took over the power. Olympus before Yasingbe also led the country for so many years. We also have it in Nigeria. Past president, past heads of state who come back again into Aso Rock to come and be president. The question I want to ask all of them, both here and outside the country, since an international view, is what are you looking for?
Good question.
What are you looking for that you don't want others to take over?
Okay, fine. Good question. You just dropped a question as you anchored the point you were raising. Now, both of you are very vast in history of African countries, especially talking about over or more than 200 coups d'etat in Africa, and most of these countries involved are the francophone countries in Africa. And if you take a look at Guinea, something seems to be very, very peculiar about leadership in Guinea. They don't want to relinquish power. But Alpha Condé started as an activist, a voice for democracy. Where do you think he went wrong? Apart from that also, the coup in question, is that the right answer for Condé's mistake?
The first thing where he went wrong is by not obeying the rules that brought him to power.
But he obeyed the rules.
He went wrong.
The constitution supported him.
No. When you say constitution, there's what we call constitution making. And that is a problem in Africa. Constitution making. Nigerians now are crying. They are crying that they need restructuring. People who don't understand the meaning of restructuring, they say no to it. Because the constitution that Nigeria is operating is a constitution that was imposed on the people. Those who made the constitution, those who drafted the constitution, were handpicked by the leaders of Nigeria at that time. And the constitution came up and it says Nigeria constitution. People are not crying. If you know you don't want people to cry, you want national integration, you want peace, why don't you revisit the constitution and address those issues that people are crying about? Are you getting it? That is how to make a constitution. Now, if the constitution is imposed and people are saying that is the constitution, obey it, and even if people are clamoring for change, you just give them maybe half of 1/5 of what they are requesting for, and you want the country to dwell in peace, the country cannot dwell in peace. And if the country is not dwelling in peace, there will be no development, no political development, no economic development, no socio-cultural development. So let's go back to Guinea. What Alpha Condé did wrong was to have repeated the history of African leaders who amended the constitution to remain in power. Some of them are still there. I mentioned Al-Hassan Ouattara just now. We have Paul Kagame. Yeah. We have Kaguta Museveni of Uganda. We had what do you call this man of Zimbabwe the other day?
But it's late right now.
Robert Mugabe
is late, yes.
The list is long. Yeah. We have Equatorial Guinea leader, Guema Basogo.
Cameroon leader also, Paul Biya is still there.
So Paul Biya is there. The list is long. We cannot continue to mention them, but let us just look at the issues. Now, if a man that is 83 years of age, who is closer to where he's going to, closer to heaven or hell, and he's still coming to amend the constitution to remain in power, if he rules for another 5 years or 6 years, the man will now be 91 years. And there's the likelihood that he will also want to amend the constitution so that he will die in the office, like the other leaders I mentioned, like Ahmed Sekoturi, like Lassana Conte. Now, the people are saying no to it by saying that you cannot amend the constitution and remain in power. The opposition boycotted the election, and he was announced the winner of the election. Yet, the people who protested, some of them were arrested, some died in the process of the protest, and some had to run away from the country. Now the man is president. There's poverty in the land. There's mismanagement in the land. There's corruption in the land. And the soldiers are saying, we cannot allow this to continue. The only people who can now take over power from a democratically elected government that cannot change it when the people are beaten to a corner, when the people are frustrated, they don't have the means of change of government. It's military. It's military. So that was why the military came. Of course, military takeover is not a welcome development across the world. But if that is what is going to give them, it's going to lead them to the promised land, so be it. Right now, when you ask me a question about whether military coup is the
answer, yeah.
Military coup is not the solution, but it's the last option. I don't want to measure certain things that have happened in Nigeria, our country here, that's supposed to even lead to military coup. Because Nigeria, as we are sitting down talking now, somebody is dying, people are dying. The killers of these people, not that they are dying of sicknesses and diseases, they are brutal killing, kamikaze type of killing. That if you aggregate the people that have died together, let's say from the beginning of this democracy till now, they are more than those that died in the civil war.
Anyway, we don't want to make such comparison right now.
We are not making comparison. We are not making comparison.
Please let's just be guarded, please.
Yes, I know that. Yeah. I know that ITV, like every other station in Nigeria, they don't want people to say it as it is. Maybe because of the message that it pass across.
You know the rules, governing the airwaves, please.
I will try as much as possible.
Yes, let's stick to the rules,
abide
please.
By the rules.
All right.
Abiding by the rules.
Yeah.
I want to let you know that what happened in Guinea has happened elsewhere before now.
Yes.
And it's likely to happen again elsewhere in Africa. If leaders of African countries, when they see what is wrong with their country, when they see that their own country is threatened, the center is no longer holding, to use the language of Chinua Achebe. They are seeing it, but because they belong to a group that feel that, yeah, we are the people controlling power, let us do it like that, nothing will happen. As they will say in our local palace, hey boy, let's do it like that. A time will come that people will be so frustrated, and those who feel that things should not continue like that can effect a change of government.
Okay, but is coup d'etat the answer? Don't forget to talk about democracy.
Yes.
Because in the case of Guinea, it's like, according to pundits, it's like in the bloodstream. Every leader wants to die in position. They'll come in, do something nice, start off so well. Maybe as an activist, the avenger, so to speak, of democracy. All of a sudden, they are given power, and some of them just make a mess out of it.
Thank you. Let me also take it off from the last question you asked, Melville.
Yeah.
What did Conde do wrong? When he tried to amend that constitution, people protested. He didn't listen to people. Yeah. And then the question is, did the change of constitution, or the amendment of the constitution, did it follow due process? The amendment did not follow due process. The amendment was, was characterized by fraud. Yeah. People complained. Like he said, he picked some people to favor him. He knew people that were in his constituency. He did not go through the rudiments of constitution amendments. So that one, he did very wrong, number one. Number two, what he did wrong again was to try to keep power to himself for a third term against the will of majority of the people. Because what we are talking about is the will of majority. Now, we also have situations where people will be clamoring for their presidents not to go, for their leader not to go, if the leader had been very good to them. But the thing is that no matter how good you think you are, there will be somebody who will be better. If they are not giving you an opportunity, if somebody had not stepped aside for you, you wouldn't have come in as a leader. They forget that easily. As soon as they get into power, they forget that they want to remain in power. Those are the things he did wrong. And lastly, the people were not happy. Let me tell you, when they protested against his election, against his re-election for the third time, when they tried to protest, just as people try to protest in the country, they used the same military against them, against the people. So many people were killed, and so many people were arrested. Now, this is what comes to the second question. Is coup d'etat the option? Don't forget that these people you are killing are related to these soldiers. These soldiers that you are using against them, some of them are their uncles, their aunties, their children, their grandchildren in one way, and we are all Africans. Whether they are soldiers or not, who have sworn to defend the cause of the country, not necessarily the cause of the president. You know, that's what I was saying. Challenging our military here in Nigeria, that you took an oath of office when you became a military man. At graduation, there is an oath they take to defend their country to the. Let me tell you. On the 6th of January, when they wanted to take over the capital, President Donald Trump did not give the word to the National Guard immediately to drive those protesters. Even when they were calling out for him to do that, it was the responsibility of the National Guard to quickly do something about the takeover. But a time came when they could no longer wait for the directive of Donald Trump. Yeah. They had to do what they should do to protect their country. And in fact, you saw it in the House of Senate that day when they were deliberating on it. Nancy Pelosi told them that it was not about the president, but it was about the country. It was about the people. And that is what coup d'etat is all about. A time will come, the military will now say, no, if we continue like this, our country will be in a mess. So most times we have seen African countries after the coup d'etat, they hand over power back to the civilians. Okay. We have seen it several times. Right. And I want to believe that the same case will happen in Guinea with time.
Don't forget that if you go down history, it's got that it's still the same format. Yes. Military will come, they'll take over, be there as president, they want to stay for life. Because that is also the situation. If you take a look at Conde's antecedents, he's been trying. Now he's been given the opportunity. People are like saying that, come on, Conde, what do you think you're doing? That is on one hand. Now take a look at other countries. Let's go to Russia. Putin was able to take over the constitution. Right now, he's like a life president, indirectly. Go to China, the same thing happened, but still, we do not hear anything about coup. What is the difference? Neville, okay. Please hold on. I'll come back to you. All right.
When you talk about Russia, you talk about
China.
You have to understand, as I said earlier, that there's what we call state creation, state building, and then integration. Now, the Russian Federation was part of the defunct USSR that has disintegrated into what we call the Commonwealth of Independent States, Azerbaijan, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, Georgia, and so on.
And so on.
Now, for many years, they have what we call the socialist ideology. The people were given a sense of belonging from the point of view of socialism and communism. They saw themselves as part and parcel of the state. And the leaders also saw the citizens as part and parcel of the state. And what the citizens need, according to their need, were granted to them. And they made their own contribution to the survival of the state according to their ability. Now, that is Russia. Before Russia now disintegrated. And you know that why the defunct Russia, the defunct USSR was still the Soviet Union.
The Soviet Union,
yes. You discover that there was power tussle between America and the United and the
Soviet Union. Talk about the Cold War then.
Yes.
Yeah.
That power tussle, after the collapse of Berlin Wall and the collapse of the Soviet Union, there was still the need to have a power that would checkmate America. There can be no vacuum in leadership. And so the Russian president, based on his experience as a KGB intelligence officer, and based on his closeness to the corridors of power, decided to fill that vacuum. That instead of leaving America to just remain as the global world police, we need to monitor America. And when you want to monitor America, you need a very strong leadership. That is the leadership that he has tried to provide for the people of Russia. Then we move from there to China. As it is with Russia, so it is with China. Mutatis mutandis. Now let's take China critically. You know that China, from Mao Zedong, through to Deng Xiaoping, from Deng Xiaoping to Jiang Zemin, Hu Jintao, and now Xi Jinping, they have also been following the same socialist ideology. And they know that one way that their system of government, their system of economy can survive is by strong leadership. It's not by the democracy that we have, a democracy where people can protest, people can disagree with you and go away with it. People can try to subvert the process of governance. Their own is to strengthen the capacity of the state to deliver to the citizens and to be assertive in international affairs. This is what Xi Jinping read in history, and he has decided to position China in a kind of a gentlemanly agreement with Russia to continue to checkmate America's influence in the world in general and in the Pacific Ocean area in particular. That strong leadership is needed. That is what they are trying to provide. Now, the question is the people of this country, are they in support of this leadership, the leadership provided by Xi Jinping? In the case of China, you know that in a communist system, there's no opposition. If you oppose the government, you are seen as an enemy of the state.
I'm coming to that. I am definitely, because if you take a look at China and of course Russia, don't forget about the massive protest that was clamped down by Russian officials. It was brutal. So it was terrible. In China also, the same thing. So how come you're down to the tune of China and Russia? When it happened in Africa, be like, no, Africa foul. What you guys are doing is totally wrong. What is the difference? Talking about democracy right now.
Why it is different? Why it is different is this. When you are doing a political analysis, you can do political analysis from two perspectives. Liberal perspective, which have to do with the English type of analysis. Then we have what we call the Marxian perspective, which have to do with the socialist ideology. Now, if a state was formed, just like when you are asking the question about democracy now, just like you go to the Middle East. When you go to the Middle East, you will see that countries like Saudi Arabia, countries like Iran, even though they have some forms of democracy, it is their own grown democracy. So if you go to Russia, what the government of Vladimir Putin is trying to do is to lay a foundation for a Russian democracy.
All right.
The same thing with China.
I'll come back to you. I'll come back to now. Borrowing a lead from these two countries, I don't think that's what these African leaders are trying to do. Have a stable government. Have one person to have that power to make sure that the country survive. Don't forget the history of Hosni Mubarak. According to reports, when he was there was peace. All of a sudden, Arab Spring came up, and Egypt has never been the same after Hosni Mubarak. Back again to Guinea. They have this mentality. You started something, you should finish it so that there will be stability. And here we are having yet another coup.
No, I think we shouldn't mix it up. What these two countries have on ground, we don't have them in Africa. I've not seen any country in Africa with this developed...
We're talking about democracy
here. No,
hold
on. We're talking about their particular... You know, when you talk about democracy, you also put into consideration the system you have put in place, the institutions you have put on ground to make your democracy work.
But some came out to protest in this great country.
No, you can't just come out of the moon. You can't just come out of the moon.
In China, they refused any protest. In Russia, they were clamped down.
Hold on. You cannot just tell me that we are practicing the democratic system when you, as a leader, you are not following the rule of law and you are not practicing that same democratic system that you want the people to practice. Now, let me tell you, in the two countries, Neville has answered the question. And the thing is this, I just want to add to it that these two countries have what you call developed institutions.
But the answers he gave brought up so many questions. We know this country's history with human rights violation.
When I started my submission, I said that our leaders, our African leaders, just take the part of democracy that we favor them, and then they lead the ones that we favor the people. Now, the Putin you are talking about and the Chinese president, you know, put their people into consideration. They have a kind of, let me use the word, a totalitarian system, the communist system, where people are part of the governance. So the governance is not ordinarily about Putin. That is why you see that some Russians are ready to die for President Putin, because he carries them along. Tell me, and he listens to his people. We've seen several times people carry out assignments for him, even daily assignment, because of the way he treats his people. You know, there's this togetherness. He has the term, but I want to use a layman, you know, language to understand it. When somebody, let me tell you, even in your home, as a father, for example, when you have a family, I want to use a family as an example. Now, when you carry your wife along and you carry the children along, it will be difficult to have quarrels in the house, because they know how much is your income, they know what you do with your income, they know everything about it, they know what daddy will not like, they know they know the rules. Now, when you decide to say, no, I'm not going to that, I'm the father, I'm the alpha, let me use the word, I'm the alpha of this family.
The alpha conde.
Yes, the alpha conde of this family. So, what I just come, I'll just give you instruction, just is to carry out this instruction, because I am the father of the family, and then I don't care what you, if you don't ask me for anything, if I feel you need anything, I'll give you. If I don't feel you don't need it, I will not give you. You know, when you operate like that, a time will come, the children, no matter how alpha you are, all of them will gather to beat you in that house, or they will pack out of that house. And that is what I'm trying to tell you, that in Africa, you want to practice democracy, then practice it well, where you carry the people. If it's the socialist system, you carry everybody. You follow it through. You don't just take the ones that favor you and your family members alone. Africans have been agitating. They will cry, we don't like this thing, that leaders will turn deaf ears, then later they will impose something on them. Let me tell you, one day they must surely fight back. People protest. Why do people protest? People protest because maybe whatever they are seeing, they have been talking about it, is not working, then they come out on the street to say, no, enough is enough, we don't want to take this thing. Then instead of government, my mentality, the mentality I had concerning protest is that when people are protesting, the leaders will come out and address the protester to say, we are very sorry, we are going to look into your complaints. But in Africa, especially in Nigeria, when people protest, they point gun at them and they tell people to shoot at them. Just as we have people who shot at protesters. They don't tell people to shoot at them. Please, let's be guarded. Let's be guarded. Come out of it. People are saying that this person,
you have to please watch your emotions
right now. Thank you so much. Thank you. I know that, you see, it's also part of what we are talking about. The media, the press cannot. And it's part of our constitution. The liberty of the press is no longer there. They are choking the press. Is part of it. And that is part of the dictatorial attitude. Instead of us to have the socialist attitude, instead of us to have the communist attitude, what we have now is the dictatorial attitude of African leaders. And that's why it comes now. Now, when people are protesting against what you have in China and in Russia, when people are saying that, no, this is how it's supposed to be, shouldn't be like that, you see the person immediately as an enemy of government, and that the person should be eliminated immediately, which is not supposed to be.
All right, you just hold on. If you just joined us, this is International Forum, taking a look at military coup in Guinea, impact on democracy. That is what we are talking about today, focusing more on Guinea, Alpha Conde, who was overthrown through a coup and is chilling somewhere. They said, look, the man is okay, but he's no longer the president. We are going to do a kind of an all-inclusive government. We want to go for a break. When we return, this question I'm going to throw at my guests. Now, since it has started with Francophone countries in Africa, do you see it becoming something somewhat like an Arab Spring? Every country will start following suit, or is a clarion call for the leadership in African countries to buckle up? We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Thank you so much for staying tuned. If you just joined us, this is International Forum, taking a look at what transpired in Guinea. Before we went to that break, I asked one question: if it's going to be what happened in the time or during the time of the Arab Spring, do you see African countries or even world all around the world coming out on their own to fight against what are perceived to be an oppressive government? Neville.
When we talk about Arab Spring and try to link it up with the kind of contagious military coup that we're experiencing in Africa right now. We have to first of all go and look at Arab Spring. How did this start? You will know what happened in Tunisia. That is to show that the failure of leadership.
That's it.
Now, we expect that countries that do not want military coup, whether Nigeria, whether Cameroon, whether any country, they should provide leadership for the people. How are they going to provide leadership for the people? Take the case of Guinea. The Republic of Guinea was constituted by the French colonialists. That was the country that Sekou Touré inherited. He did not do anything to deconstruct the country and reconstruct the country. Lay foundation for citizens of Guinea to see Guinea as a country they can die for. Give a sense of belonging to the various groups that make up Guinea. That is the ethnic group that make up Guinea.
Who were opposed to
he failed to do that.
Election bid.
And so he left Guinea worse than he met it. And the leaders who have come to take over, to preside over the affairs of the country, they have just simply repeated history by not deconstructing the country and reconstructing it. Now, when we talk about China, we talk about Russia, we are making statements that have to do with what is happening there. They have a culture in Russia from Joseph Stalin, let me say from Vladimir Ilyich Lenin through Joseph Stalin to Brezhnev, Khrushchev, up to Mikhail Gorbachev, then Boris Yeltsin, and then Vladimir Putin. The culture of the people have been maintained.
If you just joined us, this is International Forum. We are gradually coming to the end of our discussion all about the coup d'etat that took place in Guinea. Impact on democracy, lessons learned, comparing and contrasting African countries, and of course to some countries globally. Never will we forward into that break.
So, as I was saying,
yeah,
the world generally is in crisis today, because your introductory statement, you even talk about the coup, the Taliban coup in Afghanistan. And you see, up to yesterday, the Taliban were still fighting in the Panjshir region, province, trying to overthrow the government there so that they can establish their rule across the country. The question is, are the people carried along? The Taliban were there before. They have come back now. Are they ready to give good governance to the people instead of religion that will make you to be killing people because they don't subscribe to your own perspective of the same religion? That becomes a problem. Now let's come back to the issue of Africa and the issue of Guinea. Now, leaders that want their country to develop, they want their country to transform, they want their country to be united, where the citizens can give their best to the survival of the country, to the success of to the growth of the country. The first thing they are supposed to do is to go back to history and correct the mistakes that are affecting the country. You must allow me to give an example with Nigeria.
But work with time.
Yes. Like after the civil war in this country, Nigeria, the people that fought the war, that wanted to break away from Nigeria, which is the southeast, Nigeria government have been creating states. They created only 5 states for them. That region. Other states, there's a region that have about 7 states. Others, they have 6. The national reconciliation, the national rehabilitation, and the national reconstruction that General Gowon is still alive as a former industry, is a member of the National Council of State. What he promised the people of the southeast has not been given them. They have come back now to say IPOB or MASOB. What stopped the government of Nigeria today to address the problem of that group of people? You may not give them presidency, you may not create state for them, but give them a sense of belonging in terms of reconstruction of that area.
All right. In
terms of going back to that error that you have not corrected.
Okay.
But instead, the people are clamoring for government awareness, self-determination.
That would be a talk for another level
in the gulags.
That would be a talk for
now. Let me just round up.
Please round up. Our time is up. Yes.
We don't want what happened in Guinea to happen again. Our leaders, Nigerian leaders, African leaders, they should learn from history.
All right.
That when they make peaceful change, when they refuse to allow the people to speak on how their life can be better as citizens of a country, they are just preparing ground for a violent overthrow of government like what happened in Guinea.
Thank you so much, Neville. Stella,
quickly, I want to say that this thing also is not far from the influence of the West.
Influence of the West?
Yes, because if you check very well, some of the arms, or most of the arms, used for this coup d'etat are got from the West. And most of these coup d'etats are also sponsored by the West.
But we don't have proof of that.
Let me tell you, you don't need to have proof of that. But I just gave you an example of these francophone countries being over and over. In Cote d'Ivoire, for example, France came to pick Gbagbo. And so many others. Immediately in Chad, they killed Idris. Macron came over, and so many. I see it this way: in as much as Africans are seeing it as a way out of their immediate problem, let us not also be unaware of the modern colonialism of the West on Africa. I think there's an indirect way also of controlling power in Africa. We should think about that while thinking about the coup d'etat.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the wonderful analysis, both of you. Top notch. We don't have 1 hour is more than enough now. We've been talking. I know you have so much to say, but these have drawn cut things to this edition of International Forum. The opinion theirs did the best possible to follow the rules and regulations governing the airwaves. Take a look at the francophone countries. They are correct. Mali, Burkina Faso, Ivory Coast, Guinea, Cameroon. The leaders just did yesterday. Come on, what is really going on? Are we really practicing democracy? Like what they said, the best, or let's say the worst democracy, so to speak, is better than the best military rule. They used to believe in that statement. Bye for now.